Brad Pitt entered the new millennium at the height of his career. By this time, he had established himself as a major Hollywood star after the work on Seven and a zany Oscar-nominated supporting turn in 12 Monkeys. After the release of the famous Fight Club, the actor begins a criminal period of his career. He started a collaboration with Guy Ritchie, being a big fan of his previous works. As the director told Esquire, he called me and told me that he wanted to be part of whatever I was doing next. Understanding that he was ready for any role in the movie Snatch and having failed the exam for imitating the London manner of speech, Brad got one of his brightest roles. It was Mickey O'Neill. Brad had no problems with the accent of his unusual character. His speech is not particularly understandable. Rapid muttering became a kind of feature of his image. Nevertheless, Pitt worried so much about the accent right up until the start of filming. In an interview, he said he was taught to be intelligible, but how could he mumble unintelligibly? I went to Jim the day before and I said, "Guy, I'm gonna fuck up your movie," he said. But Ritchie helped him overcome his fear. All this was a gamble. Even the actors should not have understood it.
Do you like dogs? Dogs. What?
Yeah, dogs.
Dogs. Do you like dogs?
Oh, dogs. Sure.
The actor took classes from boxing coach Joe Goosen to prepare for the role. He praised Brad's efforts very much. Brad showed up to work every day of those 5 weeks. The sessions were at least 2 hours every time. He put himself through the grinder to get where he ended up. Between the filming of movies, Brad had to gain about 10 pounds of muscle, which is a decent number considering his physique. Although he did not like the fact that he would have to play a boxer again after his recent experience in the previous film. In addition, Brad almost didn't take a shower during filming. How else to play a sleazy Irish traveler who lived in a van? The movie was called Crazy and Brilliant. Good humor, fantastic characters, good written dialogue, professional directing, and camera work. The special way of presenting visual material using unusual angles of camera and tricks gave the film a special atmosphere. Its efforts were highly appreciated too. He was able to fit into a strange, non-normative role. The scenes of the actor's performance in the ring were especially vivid and memorable. Brad Pitt sheds his movie start personally and performs impressively as an Irish gypsy. This was the average verdict of viewers on IMDb. Still, in 2000, the actor participated in the American comedy franchise Jackass, although he got only a small episodic role there. He starred in 2 episodes of the show. In the episode Night Monkey, he put on a gorilla costume to go out on the streets of Los Angeles together with 4 other joking heroes and made a little mess. They ran around the city, jumped into bushes, drove around in carts, and crashed into each other on scooters. Apparently, Pitt was ready to go on the show, Johnny Knoxville said on Hot Ones. At this moment, Brad was already developing an affair with Jennifer Aniston. They started dating sometime in 1999, appearing together at the Emmy ceremony. Already in 2000, they announced their wedding. Pitt was captivated by Aniston's carefulness and brightness. "Jen is the woman of my life," Pitt proudly declared in every interview. The budget of the actor's wedding was estimated at about $1 million. The ceremony itself took place in Malibu, but you can hardly find photos on the internet. They say the location was decorated with 50,000 flowers and the fireworks cost the couple $20,000. The guests recalled the ceremony was simple and relaxed, and the young couple took vows in a playful way. It was under the influence of Jennifer that the actor acquired the secular gloss familiar to many and played his most successful commercial roles. And it was during this period that the actor looked in love in every interview.
The Vanity Fair article where you were saying that maybe two people, the nature of two people is not meant to be with each other forever.
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure what I was talking about.
Okay.
In 2001, a comedy thriller, The Mexican by Gore Verbinski with Brad in the title role was released. He got the role of Jerry Welback, who by chance stays on a criminal path. Julia Roberts was his partner on the set. She played his hysterical girlfriend, Samantha. Brad perfectly coped with the comedic role of a clumsy criminal. Despite this, the film has a 54% rating on Rotten Tomatoes from 133 critics. The audience did not find a consensus. The movie was accused of being chaotic and incoherent. Roberts and Pitt in general are amazing actors, but they are terrible in The Mexican, they said. They worked all the kinks out of it like any Hollywood movie with Brad Pitt and Julia Roberts, but it's quirky and weird enough to stand out from the others, decided. Some were surprised at how good it turned out to be. Others, how bad and delayed. No matter how sophisticated the critics were in their research, the movie earned $147.8 million, and it stayed in the first place at the box office in North America in the first week. After the Mexican's awkward charisma came the mysterious Fleur spy game, where Brad got the role of, well, of course, a spy named Tom Bishop. There, he tried on black aviators and got into the image we will all like later in the future.
Repeat that?
Throw out the bottle. They know.
They don't know. They don't fucking know.
They'll be waiting. Drop as close to checkpoint as possible.
Negative, we're coming across.
No. That's an order.
The actor refused to participate in the equally famous picture, The Bourne Identity, to star in the film. Some scenes of the movie were supposed to be shot in Israel, but due to the escalation of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in 2000, filming had to be moved to Morocco. Tony Scott's Thriller became a blockbuster hit, grossing $143 million worldwide and received mostly positive reviews from film critics. It was praised for playing flawlessly in partnership with Robert Redford. The consensus reads, "The outcome of the kinetic spy game is never in doubt, but it is fun watching Robert Redford and Brad Pitt work." In parallel, Pitt did not miss the opportunity to star in the cult TV series Friends as an invited guest.
Oh, that's right. Are you gonna be okay?
Oh, I'll be fine. It's just, God, I hate her, Ross. I hate her.
The third film in 2001 was, well, maybe you can suddenly remember it, huh? Of course, we are talking about the famous Ocean's 11, a crime film by Steven Soderbergh. 11 people got together to rob a casino. Brad was among them in the role of Robert Rusty Ryan. He is the right hand of the protagonist and his best friend. He is elegant and balanced, but at the same time, he is an avid gambler and sharper. This was how the world saw the new image of the actor.
What, did you guys get a group rate or something?
Each of the main actors went to reduce his fee in order for the picture to be released. George Clooney set the example by limiting his income. Las Vegas became a huge filming venue. One of the things that scared me when I read the script was the amount of time we would have to shoot at the casino, Soderbergh said. The team was lucky that one of the producers, Jerry Weintraub, and the owner of the Bellagio Casino were friends. It allowed them not to be limited to shooting only at night and feel free to close this or that part of this casino or turn off the fountains. By the way, if you noticed, Rusty has an interesting feature. Throughout the film, he constantly eats or drinks something. It was the actor's idea. Brad believed that with all the planning of a multi-million-dollar casino robbery, there would simply be no time for hearty dinners, and his hero would have to eat fast food as soon as such an opportunity arises. This interesting feature had another side. In one of the scenes, the actor had to eat 40 shrimp while reshooting. In order to convey the friendly atmosphere between the main characters, the actors had to spend a lot of time together. The film recouped the cost of time and effort and brought $450 million. The casino robbery adventure became so popular that the director decided to release 2 sequels, building a whole universe of cunning robbers and evil billionaires in the Mojave Desert. That's how Ocean's 12 appeared in 2004 and Ocean's 13 in 2007. For participating in 3 parts, Brad received a very good fee of $30 million. There was a lull in the actor's career for a while. In 2002, Brad appeared only in episodic roles. In the melodrama Full Frontal by Steven Soderbergh, he got a cameo role of himself. The movie demonstrated one day in the life of some Hollywood celebrities.
Move! Out of the way! Looks like we're late.
Looks like.
Back to square one.
That's what he thinks.
You think different?
Like the back of my big 10-inch.
Oh,
Come on.
The idea was unsuccessful and defeated by film critics. In George Clooney's comedy drama called Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, he played the role of Bachelor Number 1. You won't believe it, named Brad. In addition, in 2002, Brad Pitt started a new business. He founded his own production company called Plan B Entertainment, a joint venture with Jennifer Aniston and Brad Gray, the head of the Hollywood film studio Paramount Pictures. It was Pitt's company that produced such films as Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, starring Johnny Depp, and a few years later, not without Pitt's efforts, such films as A Mighty Heart with Angelina Jolie and the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford were released. Plan B Entertainment also participated in the creation of the film The Departed, which won an Oscar. In 2003, Pitt was engaged in the voice acting of Sinbad in the animated film Sinbad: Legend of the Seven Seas, and played a cameo role in Ryan Williams' dark comedy Abby Singer. But the stagnation didn't last long, and next year, Brad got the opportunity to play Achilles in a historical drama called Troy. In order for the actor's body to look like the body of an ancient Greek hero, Pitt had to train for 6 months, working 5 days a week with a coach. Also, he began to practice sword and spear training. He tried so hard that ironically, he injured his Achilles tendon, which caused the shooting to be postponed for some time. But this was not the only victim. During the filming, the actor quit smoking, changed his own schedule for the sake of training, and refused many culinary dishes, which was very difficult for him. Wolfgang Petersen approached the creation with scale. Just remember the views of the huge Greek flotilla. And he clearly liked the image of Achilles performed by Pitt, considering how often the latter was on the screen. Well, why not? He came out a formidable, rebellious, but generally attractive Spartan, and the actor's performance was appreciated with dignity. The actor's training was so serious that in many scenes he refused to use an understudy. Brad Pitt and Eric Bana played the fight scene between Achilles and Hector themselves. Both actors diligently prepared for it, rehearsed, and even trained together in a gym. The actors concluded a gentleman's agreement among themselves to pay each other for each successful hit. $50 for a light hit and $100 for a serious one. As a result, Pitt paid Bana $750, but he did not receive a cent. The film was a great success, grossing $497 million. Brad received about $17.5 million for his role, which was quite good. The reviews were contradictory. The number of positive reviews from critics slightly exceeds the number of negative ones. Metacritic gave the film 5.6 points. Professional critics were not so generous. Jonathan Foreman from the New York Post wrote that the film Troy was spoiled by one of the worst castings in recent Hollywood history. The lackluster ensemble hired by the director was overwhelmed by impressive scenery and mass scenes. Roger Ebert, one of the most famous film critics, gave the film 2 stars out of 4. The critic was dissatisfied with the lack of Greek gods, characters shown as typical action movie heroes, and computer-generated armies. The characters are not as complex and conflicted in the Greek drama as they were shown in the film. A series of successful projects with Pitt's participation continued, and already in 2005, the film Mr. and Mrs. Smith was released. The story tells how the 2 main characters, John and Jane Smith, played by Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, are trying to build a family relationship, and everything would be fine if they weren't both killers.
You still alive, baby?
Jolie was not the first candidate for the role. Initially, Nicole Kidman was supposed to be Mrs. Smith, but she eventually refused this opportunity because of her participation in the filming of The Stepford Wives. After Brad also left the project, the producers began sorting through the candidates. There was even an idea to invite Gwyneth Paltrow to create a special tension in the film. Only after Jolie agreed to the role, Pitt returned to filming. Angelina mentioned that she had her own reason to agree to the role. In an interview with Vanity Fair, she explained that 2 unsuccessful previous marriages with actors Johnny Lee Miller and Billy Bob Thornton helped her get into the role. At this point, both actors were popular stars. Therefore, the news about the joint project generated a huge interest from the press and an inextinguishable onslaught of paparazzi. According to the memoirs of producer Akiva Goldsman, paparazzi armies lined up along the highway. It was impossible to stop them. The problem became so serious that some members of the press inadvertently got into the film. As a result, they had to be cut from the final version. It got to the point that they promised $300,000 to the shooting group for a joint photo of actors. Then they were using a scanner to listen to our walkie-talkies, said the director. The filming process was interesting, largely due to the fact that both Pitt and Jolie were the force to be reckoned with. The director admitted the personalities of the actors were the opposite of the images they played. Shooting competitions between the main actors added fuel to the fire. Both stars took lessons with weapons to look believable, and the live ammunition that was used at the same time taught them to trust each other. Moreover, Jolie, like Pitt, preferred to perform tricks and difficult scenes on her own. The competition was not only in shooting but also in combat scenes. In an interview, Angelina admitted that it was more difficult for Pitt to perform such scenes because it was not easy for him as a man to hit a woman. We wanted, every time a husband and wife says to each other, "I could just kill you," we thought, what if they really could? She recalled.
Come to Dad.
By this point, Pitt had been married to Aniston for 5 years. After the end of Friends, Jennifer declared that she was ready to replenish the family, and the couple's fans discussed their wonderful marriage. And after the filming was over, she planned to go on a trip with Brad. But the miracle did not happen. The big passion on the screen of Mr. and Mrs. Smith turned into a big passion off the set. Rumors began to circulate around Brangelina, which eventually turned out to be confirmed. Jolie recalled how her relationship with Pitt began. On January 7, 2005, Aniston and Pitt officially announced their separation, emphasizing that they remained friends. Jolie and Brad's romance grew into a 10-year relationship and made a family with 6 children. Mr. and Mrs. Smith became very popular and brought in $487 million. Although it had mixed reviews, the birth of Brangelina greatly overshadowed the film both during filming and at the box office. Everything was complicated by the fact that fans and viewers were more interested in the details of the personal life of the heroes than the movie itself. Since that time, there were almost no interviews held without provocative questions.
Tell me what it was like the first time that you laid eyes on Angelina. Was it like one of those classical love stories, like when Ross first saw Rachel? You know that show, Friends? Have you seen that?
The next was another big work by Brad Pitt, Babel, the movie of Alejandro G. Inarritu. There, the actor was able to demonstrate his potential as a dramatic actor. And for its sake, Brad turned down the role in The Departed as he was a fan of the director's work. A complex plotline, a lot of characters that are intricately intertwined with the genius of Inarritu reveal the human essence and cultural conflicts that everyone faces. His character is simple and complex at the same time. He is either a rude American or a caring husband. This time, you won't see a cute face with a mysterious smile. Pitt is serious, frowning, and he's on the edge, but it's worth watching him in this image.
Really? I'm okay.
Another unusual role in the actor's piggy bank is the image of the legendary raider and robber of the Wild West, Jesse James. His life was illustrated in Andrew Dominik's biographical western, The Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford. The director was able to show us another non-typical side of Brad, gloomy, mournful, compassionate, and kind at the same time. Here, we see Pitt in the role of a daring, unpredictable sadist who kills not only out of necessity, but also for his own pleasure. Gradually, his character falls into paranoia, seeing betrayal in close friends and associates.
But you're giving me signs that grieve my soul. And make me wonder. Maybe your mind's been changed about me.
A deep work that conveys a deep and contradictory human experience to the viewer. In that period, we see the desire of the actor to invest his time in serious, meaningful stories. For his role, the actor was awarded the Volpe Cup for Best Actor. In 2008, the film was awarded 2 Oscar nominations, a Golden Globe nomination, and many others. In 2008, Pitt performed one of his most high-profile roles in the film The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. The film was the actor's 3rd work with director David Fincher and was based on the short story of the same name by Francis Scott Fitzgerald. The role radically differs from the previous ones. It's energetic and revolutionary in style, visual presentation, and tone. Gradually, it involves us in the plot and asks such simple and such important questions, the transience of life and the importance of its moments. The love thread played by Pitt and Kate Blanchett is also important.
Sleep with me.
Absolutely.
The actor's desire to choose roles not just for the sake of roles can be seen. Brad tried to be critical of the role selection in order to prove his talent and choose interesting projects. However, such projects required a lot. To make everything look as natural as possible, Pitt was for about 5 hours every day under the power of the makeup artists. Despite the non-standard main role, the actor coped with it perfectly, plausibly playing his hero both at 16 and 60, adding his own charisma to the image, which makes Button a pleasant character. You may not have noticed, but there was an Easter egg for another famous work of the duo in the drama. We're talking about Fight Club. In one of the scenes, Benjamin's father asks about the house on Paper Street where Tyler Durden lived. The Curious Case of Benjamin Button received a lot of rave reviews from viewers and critics. The director's work, Brad's game, sound, and visual effects were highly appreciated. The film got $335.8 million and was nominated in 13 Academy Award categories. Among them was Best Actor for Brad Pitt. It did get 3 of them, and the film is considered one of David Fincher's best works. Another movie of the year was the black comedy of the Coen brothers, Burn After Reading. There, Pitt, together with George Clooney, Frances McDormand, and John Malkovich, played the main roles. Chad Feldheimer is an eccentric fitness trainer who finds himself embroiled in a mess around a mysterious disc with supposedly secret CIA data. He finds himself in quite funny and difficult situations, trying to make money on a successful find.
I thought you might be worried. Worried? About the security of your shit.
Brad coped well with the role of an eccentric and comical character, but it was exactly what we expected from him in a comedic role. Pitt once again established himself as an actor who can handle a variety of types of images and characters. Burn After Reading was received mostly positively. Andrew Pulver, the Guardian's film reviewer, awarded the film 4 stars out of 5, calling it a highly twisted spy comedy with a brilliant plot. The film received 2 Golden Globe nominations and 3 BAFTA nominations, among them for Best Supporting Actor for Brad Pitt participation. The actor turned out to have an equally impressive image in the action-adventure Inglourious Basterds by Quentin Tarantino, which was revealed to the eyes of viewers in 2009. A ruthless Nazi hunter named Aldo the Apache is brutal, cruel, and a charismatic character.
Another one up there you might be familiar with. Sergeant Hugo Stiglitz. Heard of him?
Everybody in the German army's heard of Hugo Stiglitz.
Pitt hesitated to take on this role because of Harvey Weinstein's association with the film and the outrage of the film itself. But Tarantino convinced him. He was helped by a night of conversations about the role in the Maryville Castle, where Brad lived with Angelina and a bottle of Pink Floyd pink wine. Quentin spent about 10 years writing the script and admitted in an interview that he did not fully understand how this story would end. Pitt liked this character so much that he stayed in character most of the day, Tarantino recalled. It wasn't some methody, psychotic kind of thing or some unnerving kind of thing. He could always respond as Brad, but there was always a little Aldo in there. He was pleased with how Pitt understood his character and intuitively played it right.
And the German will be sickened by us. And the German will talk about us. And the German will fear us.
The alternate history of World War II received many positive reviews, as well as 8 Oscar nominations, including for Best Film, Best Director, and Best Original Screenplay. The movie got $321 million and pleased all fans of both Tarantino and Brad. The actor also had the pleasure of cartoon voiceovers. In 2010, Metro Man from Megamind spoke Brad's voice, and in 2011, he voiced Will the Krill in Happy Feet 2. By this point, Brangelina's family had grown quite large. They were raising their son Maddox, whom Angie adopted back in 2002. 3 years later, the couple had a daughter, Zahara, from Ethiopia. In 2006, the Jolie Pitt family had a biological daughter, Shiloh, and a year later, a Vietnamese boy named Pham Quang Sang was adopted, who was later named Pax. But the external ideal was disrupted by frequent conflicts in the family. According to those close to the couple, Angie and Brad argued literally about everything from politics to what to cook for dinner. The actor was seriously addicted to booze and marijuana, which will later become a serious argument not in his favor. In addition, in 2007, Brad was allegedly spotted in the company of a Sudanese model with whom he had an affair. At least, that's what the magazines wrote. Anyway, fatherhood became an important part of the actor's life, according to him, and it had a great influence on him. In interviews, Pitt always warmly speaks about kids. "I think, what can I give them? Children are your life. All the attention is on them as it should be," he said. But let's get back to the movies. For Pitt, 2011 was a year of drama. On May 26th, the scandalous film The Tree of Life by Terrence Malick was released in the United States. Brad got the role of the strict and domineering father, Mr. O'Brien, who was trying to raise real men in his sons.
Can you pass the butter, please?
Pass the butter, please, sir.
Sir.
The situation in the family worsens after the death of one of the children. Despite the fact that a huge script was written, the director didn't actually stick to it. Instead, Malick created several quarters of the 1950s and practically let his actors in them. There was no noise and specially installed lights. According to Brad, one guy just walked behind them with a camera and film. Every day, he gave his actors a few notes that were more like a stream of consciousness. The role itself was originally intended for Heath Ledger, but after his death, he was replaced by Brad, who had to overcome his role as a charming hero. Everything was complicated by the fact that it was difficult for the young non-actors who played the sons of the main character to take what was happening seriously, because in front of them was a guy from the cinema. I was supposed to be getting on their case and they're laughing, so I had to take the eldest two off the set and say, "This is serious, this is what we're here for, and don't come back until you're ready." After that, they stopped looking at me as the guy they'd seen in the movies, the actor recalls. In addition, Brad was accompanied by a family, which at that time had 4 children and 2 on the way, and Pitt and Angelina took turns looking after them. They were chased by paparazzi all the time, which added discomfort not only to the family, but also to the close director. It was terribly, terribly uncomfortable for him, Pitt admits. The originality of the film greatly influenced its implementation. In some cinemas in America, they even refunded money for a ticket if the viewer watched it for less than 20 minutes. It was too unconventional a director's view. An emphasis was on the viewer's own spiritual experience. The creator tried to pass it through the screen of musical and visual perception of complex philosophical issues. The question of the meaning of life, the importance of being loved and appreciated. It was made through his own personal interpretation of the meaning without an obvious attempt to explain to the fans what the director wants to tell us. In general, Malick, the famous hermit and lover of existential questions, never tried to explain the meaning of the Tree of Life. The film received 3 Oscar nominations, including Best Film, received the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival, was included in the list of the best films of all time by Sight and Sound magazine, and joined the personal list of top 10 favorite movies of the famous critic Roger Ebert. The second drama of the year was the work of director Bennett Miller, Moneyball, where Pitt also had the main role. He played Billy Beane, the famous manager of the Oakland Athletics baseball team who tries to promote the team no matter what. Brad was given a difficult task to show the life path, the external and internal struggle of the main character for his ideals and goals. He was able to show Beane's battle well on all fronts, as a manager, father, and husband, to convey his feelings and desire to overcome difficulties.
Aaron Sorkin described the making of this film the other day. He said, there are easy films, there are difficult films, then there's 50 feet of crap, then there's Heaven's Gate, then there's us.
Pitt's acting was proclaimed at the time of the film's release almost the best in his entire career, and critics received the movie very positively. The drama earned $110 million and 6 Oscar nominations, including in the Best Film of the Year category, as well as 4 Golden Globe nominations. Brad, who was nominated in the category of Best Male Role, was not spared in both nominations. In 2012, Pitt returned to the criminal theme again and played in the American drama by Andrew Dominik, Killing Them Softly. We can hardly call a project successful. The movie is a gloomy, cynical picture of the life of the American society, adapted from the novel by George Higgins. His character was Jackie, the adjuster of difficult situations and the arbiter of justice related to mafia cases. Brad here is undoubtedly handsome in his leather jacket and comb-back hair.
You want me to call Dylan for you, so you can talk to Dylan and see who I am?
But charisma did not help the film. Critics reacted negatively to the director's attempt to tie the idea of the picture to the economic crisis of 2008 and mafia showdowns to global economic problems. What particularly annoyed many was how Dominic arranged the narrative with the help of a striking sound design, in which the words of Barack Obama, George W. Bush, and others buzzed in the background, sometimes only loosely tied to the world of the film. The audience also did not appreciate the picture. CinemaScore interviewed users gave it an A, and the film became one of the 19 films that received such a poor rating. The following year brought more success. The post-apocalyptic action movie World War Z, directed by Mark Forster, based on the novel World War Z by Max Brooks, was released. Pitt got the main role, which he combined with the position of producer of the film. The project was very out of the usual roles of an actor who rarely took part in action movies. Even when it happened, his characters were different from the standard in those action movies where he agreed to play. There is an opinion that Brad and his production company, Plan B Entertainment, took up the film adaptation for purely commercial reasons. According to the plot, he is a former UN employee named Jerry Lane who is trying to save the family in every possible way from the oncoming zombies with incredible strength. The filming was distinguished by its enormous scale. In Scotland, the production company hired 2,000 extras, and the number of the filming group was 1,200 people. Just remember those huge decorations. Great attention was paid to every detail, and every detail had to point to the context. In the episode where the dental office was shown, special emphasis was placed on the teeth. Pitt argued for his choice of director by saying that his most memorable moments on film were intimate and human. But not everything was rosy. Starting with the fact that the script was rewritten several times, ending with a tense relationship between Pitt and Forster, who was not familiar with blockbusters and did not fully understand how he himself saw the result and was confused in decisions. The final product didn't stick to the original source and more resembled a simple action movie starring Brad. The emphasis was placed more on the actions and struggle of the Lane family for survival than on the broader political and social consequences of the total struggle against the extinction of mankind. Pitt himself told Jeff Boucher from EW how he originally imagined World War Z. He saw it as a thoughtful political blockbuster. These elements mostly disappeared during rewriting and reshooting and turned the picture into a road movie, with the addition of a thriller and a horror film.
Jerry, what? Stay back! David, no!
The conflict with the local Hungarian police added fuel to the fire. It raided a warehouse with props where the production stored 85 weapons for filming in Budapest. It happened due to the fact that the weapons were not approved by the national government. It turned out that it was combat and fully functional, which led to proceedings. However, the movie was still a commercial success and got mostly positive reviews. It recouped the costs of $190 million, earning $540 million. On October 18th, a historical drama, 12 Years a Slave, directed by Steve McQueen, was released. It became an adaptation of the autobiography of Solomon Northup. There, Northup tells about his difficult fate in which he had to fight for his own freedom as an African American in the middle of the 19th century. Pitt got a small role of a Canadian worker, Samuel Bass, who helps the main character on the way to this victory. The image of the Bass turned out to be something typical, almost biblical, with conceptual conversations about good and evil.
What amused me just then was your concern for my well-being in this heat, when, quite frankly, the condition of your laborers.
Condition of my laborers?
It is horrid.
The hell?
It's all wrong, Mr. Epps.
12 Years a Slave brought Brad the coveted Oscar statuette, given to him not for acting, but for producing work. Another minor role went to the actor in Ridley Scott's crime thriller, The Counselor. The image of an intermedium between the main character and the drug business became one of the brightest in the picture, but many criticized the actor for deliberate pretentiousness. Life wisdom combined with jokes from snuff films, a cowboy hat, and the look of Master Yoda turned out very ambiguous.
They think everybody's hooked into something. You need to think about this, Counselor. These people are out 20 mil. You understand how serious this is?
However, several articles were subsequently published about the scene where Pitt's hero died. The audience was impressed so much either by a plausible game or by the bloodiness in the details. The counselor was criticized by the audience for the imperfection of the script, for relishing sex, murder, and violence, and for the weak performance of the actors. On film critics' websites, it earned an average rating of 4 out of 10. In 2014, David Ayer's military adventure thriller Fury appeared on the screens, where Pitt got the main role of a staff sergeant named Don War Daddy Collier.
I did. Best job I ever had.
The actor took his role so seriously that he literally lived in a tank, like his character, and treated it like a house. This led to one of the conflicts between him and Scott Eastwood, who, according to the script, had to chew tobacco and spit it in the tank. It would have ended in a fight if the director hadn't intervened. Pitt looks cool in his role. This is all that can be said about the film. Otherwise, the film is accused of an implausible scenario, poor motivation of the main characters, and deliberate ostentation of the characters. Dozens of movie blunders, even in positive reviews. Brad Pitt is good, of course, he is almost always good, but never quite finds a way of approaching his character that doesn't call to mind his indelible performance as Aldo Raine in Inglourious Basterds. Roger Ebert expressed his opinion. In general, the picture earned $211 million, paid off, and found its fans. But it was already felt that the career of a talented actor was starting to roll into the abyss. The films released in the following years, despite good reviews, could hardly be called loud or super commercial. Brad was starring in the movie By the Sea, created by his wife, Angelina Jolie. She acted as a screenwriter and director, and Angelina and Pitt played the main roles.
Being the wife of a failed writer is not good enough for pill popping and self-pity. Now you need a better reason to destroy yourself?
You know my reason.
It was their second collaboration with Brad after Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and the last one. The story tells about the complicated relationship of a married couple who left for the island to save their marriage. According to some rumors, it was an attempt to save their own relationship, and later Angie herself confirmed this. During the THR Awards Chatter podcast, she revealed that she considers By the Sea a kind of last-ditch attempt to save her marriage with Pitt, which ended in September of 2016. By the Sea was criticized and only got a little more than $3 million at a cost of $10 million. Despite the beautiful Angelina and the attractive views of Malta, the audience did not like either the plot or its implementation. After that, Adam McKay's biographical drama The Big Short, dedicated to the events of the mortgage financial crisis of 2007 and 2008, was released. The script of the film is based on the book by Michael Lewis, The Big Short, Inside the Doomsday Machine. According to the story, several financial experts predicted the crisis and decided to benefit from it in the real estate market. Pitt became not only the director of the film, but also got a small role to ensure good financing of the production. The image of a retired banker, Ben Rickard, became prominent for the actor against the background of standard roles. Forget about the cuteness. This time he had long hair, an overgrown beard, and glasses. You hardly recognize Pitt right away, passing by the monitor.
Bet, you still there?
Yeah. I'll be honest,
Gentlemen, it scared the shit out of me.
That's a good thing, right?
Rickard's prototype is Ben Hockett, who, together with his friends, organized an investment fund and amassed wealth thanks to his bets against the housing market. The director used accessible and sometimes humorous ways to illustrate complex financial instruments and tools, from collateralized debt obligations and tranches to credit default swaps and mortgage-backed securities that helped sink the global economy. This led to an appropriate result. The picture received high rates for the depth and plausibility of the presentation of market and economic mechanisms, which are little accessible to the uninitiated viewer. But also, it got the Oscar for the Best Adapted Screenplay and 4 more nominations, including for Best Film. In 2016, Pitt was involved in the filming of the promising romantic thriller Allied, in duet with the beautiful Marion Cotillard. The picture by Robert Zemeckis told about the love of a U.S. intelligence agent played by Brad and a Nazi spy. The screenwriter of the film, Stephen Knight, admitted that the idea was invented by him during one of his trips. It hardly looked like a documentary or even a historically plausible film, but Allied aimed to convey the spirit of the time, saturated with contradictory reality. A combination of truth, fiction, the unfathomable fog of war, and two bright actors whose collaboration really made a splash. People thought, did a stormy romance really happen between Pitt and Cotillard? And was it connected with the rumors of the collapse of Brangelina? Unfortunately, we will never know whether there was an affair, but what is known is that Marion taught Pitt French for the role. The audience noticed that both actors were not very comfortable in their roles. They looked strained and clumsy. The aging golden boy has never been comfortable with conventional heroes or handsome stiffs, and here he's both. Robert Abel wrote in one of the articles,
If we're dead tomorrow, no one would know.
The film received mixed reviews, in which the script and the lack of chemistry between the actors caused criticism. It grossed $119 million, paying off the cost of the film production, and received praise for costumes, cinematography, and music. On the other hand, for RogerEbert.com, Peter Sobinski gave the film 4 stars. Starting with this period, Brad began to appear less in public and in movies. A difficult divorce with Angelina, which will formally end in 2019, but in fact will not end by the time this script is written. Jolie filed for divorce in the fall of 2016, arguing for her decision because of the difference in approaches to parenting and the actor's addiction to alcohol and drugs. The situation was aggravated by the fact that after the release of the film By the Sea, each of them went into their own lives. Despite the attempt to return to the relationship in 2014 and the atmospheric wedding of the actors, everything was falling apart. According to the couple's friends, the wedding itself was organized for the sake of the children and their peace of mind. But according to one of Pitt's relatives, quoting his words, "I endlessly lay on the couch, smoked weed, and felt the complete meaninglessness of my life." The passion between the lovers had since faded. Angie's illness, family squabbles only brought the relationship to an end, but it marked a new round of vision in the actor's life, the vision of his career and his life. Pitt began to treat the roles more selectively, abandoning the position of the external protagonist and focusing on non-standard characters. He devoted a lot of time to his role as a film producer, arguing this area as a way to help the creativity of up-and-coming directors and promote the work of already famous masters. Spending time oftenly in his residence, Pitt began to immerse himself more and more in his inner world and creativity. Pitt has a number of properties in and outside of LA, a beach house near Santa Barbara, a modernist glass and steel residence also in the Hollywood Hills, but it's Craftsman home, which has been a fixture in his life throughout his tenure as a movie star, where he's been holed up for much of the pandemic. The house, which is located in Los Feliz, California, was purchased by the actor in 1994 from Cassandra Peterson.